Cars is a famous Pixar movie that released around 20 years ago. And I am here today, as you can tell by the title, to go over the Cars trilogy. Cars, Cars 2, and Cars 3. My thoughts, kind of like just talk about the story, and then my thoughts on each movie. I'm doing this because I do kind of want to talk about more older movies, give like reviews for older movies as well as the newer movies. And seeing as how Toy Story 5 is coming out in a couple of days, I looked at the Pixar movies and I decided that I wanted to talk about the Cars trilogy. I also kind of wanted to do The Incredibles, but I just picked the Cars one. But maybe I'll do The Incredibles someday. But the Cars trilogy is one of the most famous in Pixar, for good and bad. Cars 1, I think, is universally loved. I think that most people, at least, like it. Not loved, I guess, but, I think most people like the first one. The second one is the one that is at most people's, bottom of the ranking, bottom 3. And then the third one, I think, is somewhere in the middle, where they're, it's definitely not as bad as 2, but it's not as good as 1. I have a different opinion than everyone, but until then, I just wanted to talk about them because I did grow up with this trilogy. I grew up with Cars 1 and Cars 2 a little bit more than Cars 3, obviously. But Cars 3 was also there. It released, I think Cars 3 was, 2017? 2016? I could be off. But I think it was around that, 2016 to 2019, somewhere in there. So, I did grow up with it. So all these movies have a soft spot, and I'm going to talk about them, and you guys will disagree, but yeah, so Cars 1 tells the story of Lightning McQueen, who is this rookie race car driver, voiced by Owen Wilson, and he is in a race, and because he's cocky, he doesn't get his tires changed, and because of that, he's in the lead, but his tires blow, so he's trying to get to the finish line, where the King, who's a famous race car driver, one of the older ones, who I think this is his last year before what happens at the end. I think he was planning on retiring. And you got Chick Hicks, voiced by Michael Keaton, and they all tie. So, there's going to be a last race of the season with these 3 cars in a couple days or a week or whatever. And on their way to that, McQueen, while sleeping in the back of his trailer, while his semi-truck driver, Mac, is driving him. Mac is also kind of getting sleepy, because they're driving all night. McQueen ends up hitting a button, and he's left on the side of the road. And through a series of events, he ends up in this little town called Radiator Springs, in the middle of nowhere. There, he meets a bunch of iconic characters. Some of them I do not remember the name of, but you got Mater, you got Duck Hudson, you got Sally, you got the sheriff, you've got Guido, and the other one, which I can't remember. I think Guido's the little blue one with the sticks, who he does the pit stop, and then there's, or is it Guido? I don't remember. I'm not good with their names. But then you've got this other car who's long, and he changes his color in every scene. You've got this other long green car who I think she's I don't know, but she hangs out with him. And then you've got the fire truck. You've got that one old lady who doesn't know what's going on. She's a old-timey Jeep. You've got the army Jeep. You've got the stoner van. You've got a bunch of iconic characters. Even if you don't remember, their names, you remember scenes, and, they're just iconic. But he ends up in this town, and he kind of ends up messing the road up. So Doc Hudson has him fix the road. And as soon, because they get the that little thing on his tire that stops it. If you get pulled over and they're gonna take your car and you try not to, they put that yellow thing on it so he can't move. They put that on him when he's sleeping and not doing stuff, and then during the day he gets hooked to this big machine that pours concrete. And through the series of the movie, through the events of the movie, not the series, he ends up kind of falling in love with this town and its people, and ultimately learns how not to be cocky. He becomes friends with Mater, who is a really, really likable character. There are times where he can be annoying in all the movies, but I do like his character. There's Sally, who obviously becomes McQueen's like love interest. You get Doc Hudson, who you find out is the Hudson Hornet, who was like this famous race car driver, and he was in a crash, and then they kind of just like got rid of him. And he had 6 piston cups, so that's kind of also part of McQueen's journey, learning that like even if I do get these cups, like if I am in one accident, it's all done for me. So that also is like, then why should I like try when I just do it for fun? And you get some pretty good jokes with that too, where when McQueen first finds out, he goes to all the cars and he's like, "Did you know that Doc Hudson has 6 piston cups?" And then there's Mater. He did what in his cup? Like, that's a really funny scene. But you get this arc with them, and like toward the end of the movie, like he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay with them all, but people end up finding him, and he is taken to this race. And while he's doing the race, he keeps thinking of Radiator Springs, and ultimately Doc, Mater, Guido, they all show up and are there to like not all the people from Radiator Springs, like some of them are left and they're watching on TV, like Sally and some of the other ones, but like some of them do show up and Doc Hudson, like, is just like his guy who's like telling him what to do. There's a really funny scene when they show up and Mater's like, "I couldn't let my friend leave without saying goodbye," and he's like, "Goodbye, all right, I'm done." That's really funny too. But you get them doing the race, and you get a moment where earlier in the movie, Doc Hudson was trying to teach him you turn right to go left, and McQueen just thought that was like crap, and he's just like, "Yeah, that makes total sense." And then he does it in the race, and it's just really cool. He backwards drives, something Mater taught him. But everything in the movie comes to a head in the final little bit of the race, where McQueen's in the lead. He's gonna win, and then I said his name. Chick Hicks knocks the king off the track, and the king spins out, has a crash, and he is like done for the race. And McQueen stops like right before the finish line. And Chick Hicks passes him, and everyone's just looking at McQueen like, what's he doing? And then McQueen starts backing up, and like just like you can like Doc Hudson, it cuts to Doc Hudson, and he like smiles because he kind of knows what's going on. And McQueen gets behind the king and pushes him, and the king's kind of like, "What are you doing?" And McQueen's like, "I can't let you just like not finish your last race." And the king's like, "What about the Piston Cup? You could have won." And McQueen's just like, "Yeah, a friend of mine once told me that it's just an empty cup." And that's kind of where his arc for the movie like fully is like shown, because at the beginning of the movie, like with like if it went from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie without him arriving in Radiator Springs, he would have run that race. He wouldn't have cared. But because of what happened, he went from being this cocky guy who only cared about winning to just being this guy who like is nice and gives up the win. Like he comes in third place because when he's pushing the king goes in second, so he's in third place. He's last place in this race. And but he gets all the applause because like that's what you should do. And it's a really, really well done arc, and you get introduced to like really great characters, and it's just a phenomenal movie. It's just like every time I watch it, I kind of forget like, oh man, it's like a really great movie with a really, really good arc and everything. And the animation's really good. It's solid. It's fun watching this movie about race cars, and like just cars are like humans in this. Like there's no humans, it's the cars. And but it's a really, really good movie, and like you can see where it got sequels. Now the sequels are the ones that are gonna take a little bit to talk. Cars 2 is a movie that instead of racing, it turns into this spy movie. And that is shown to you in the first scene, where instead of cars or anything, you get introduced to Finn McMissile. And he's on this mission, a spy mission. He's like checking these people down, and then he gets caught, and he has a chase out of there and everything. It's like a spy scene, and it's just like, what is going on? Finn McMissile is probably the coolest character in the Cars franchise. He is awesome, and his theme song is amazing too. And then you get the rest of the movie, which Mater kind of takes the front seat for, where he's kind of the main character of the movie. But you still get Lightning McQueen in it, where he's doing races. It's just that's the background of the movie, is him doing this World Grand Prix. And the main plot of the movie is Mater, Finn McMissile, and Holly on this spy mission, trying to figure out what's going on, because all these race cars are kind of like their engines are blowing up and they're getting out of the race and everything. And you kind of, at the end of the movie, you get revealed that it's kind of like just this weird thing by this one guy who basically just wanted to go back to regular gas. Is it a bit weird that the Cars sequel is a spy movie? Yes. Is it a bit weird that the bad guy just wants regular gas? I mean, yeah. Do I love this movie and think that it might be the best one in the franchise? Yes, I do. It's between this and the first one, really. I've just always loved this one. I've always had a lot of fun with it. I love Finn McMissile, as I said. Mater isn't as bad as like people say. I do have fun with it. It's got jokes, it's got humor, it's got race driving, like the race car stuff that you want. Not as much of it, but it does have that. I do like the little arc that McQueen and Mater go on, where McQueen kind of at the beginning is just like, I don't want to be like, Mater, you shouldn't be here, you're kind of annoying, you just keep going. And his arc to being like, no, you're my best friend, I don't want you to change. If anything, I should be changing. And kind of Mater's little arc with that as well, where he kind of accepts like just stuff. But I've always loved it. And I mean, some of that is like when there's spies involved, you get some action scenes and everything. And yeah, it's cars, so it's not as fun if it was just regular humans. But I mean, I am a sucker for that. So if you put some action in it, I'm gonna like it. But like over time, like this, like if you asked me like when I was a kid or anything, what was my favorite one, it would have been Cars 2, 100%. I would have just been like, oh, it's so cool. But the more time that goes on, I think that Cars might be a little bit better. I don't really know. Like, it's really close. Like, Cars 1, Cars 2, like, they're right there. I love each one for different reasons. I didn't really talk about Cars 2 as much, but that's because, like, it does have, like, a civil story, where, like, some people would be like, no, it's got a complex story, but it's like, where's the first one? It's kind of like, you had to explain everything to kind of get the arc and everything, and, like, it's got a great Pixar moment with, like, Lightning McQueen's like arc. This one doesn't really have a bunch. It's just like, yeah, it's a really fun movie. Finn McMissile, Lightning McQueen, Mater, action, race cars, mystery. But like, and I would say that the race cars are probably a little bit better than in the first one. Whereas in the first one, it was basically just McQueen, and Chick Hicks and the King. And even then, like, the King and Chick Hicks were only really in the beginning, in the end, and in a couple scenes, like, in the middle. Whereas in this one, the cars, well, all of them probably don't have, like, big parts. Like, the main two are definitely Lightning McQueen and Francesco Bernoulli. Each one of them, like, has a moment or, like, has a design that is just like, oh. And some of that does come, too, from when I was a kid. I had a lot of the cars from this movie as, like, the little Hot Wheels. So it's like watching the movie, it's just like, oh, I had that one, I had that one, oh, I had that one, too. So it's kind of like that as well. But, I do like it. I know some people don't, but, like, even the people that don't like it, I don't get why people are like, oh, it's, like, the worst that Pixar has to offer. When it's, like, it's not the worst it has to offer. Like, come on, it's a fun movie. Like, it might not be, like, as, like, emotionally resonant or, like, as well put together as, like, Cars. Or, like, obviously you got the Toy Story movies and Incredibles and everything, but, like, in the Cars franchise, it might not be as well put together as Cars, but it's a really fun movie. And it's not as bad as people say. And that brings us to Cars 3, where it goes back to racing. The meme is that Cars 1 racing, Cars 2 is, like, this convoluted spy plot where Mater takes the lead, and you've got the bad guy who wants oil. And then the third one is racing. But the third one I think is really good as well, where you get Lightning McQueen, and he's at the top of his game. He's winning. He's got a bunch of piston cups. He's like the big race car, everyone's favorite, blah blah blah. And then you get this new guy coming in, Jackson Storm, and he just kind of leaves McQueen in the dust. And you kind of just see all these new people coming in, and since they're new, Lightning McQueen's getting old. That's kind of it. Like in this movie, Lightning McQueen is getting old, and he kind of has to deal with that. So throughout the movie, he meets up with Jessica Cruz. No, I think that's a DC character. He meets up with Cruz. I don't know her first name. It might be Jessica, but he meets up with Cruz, and she's kind of trying to help him train and try and get faster. You get this other car who's played by Nathan Fillion, which is really cool because I really love Nathan Fillion as an actor. But you get the story of McQueen just wanting to beat Jackson Storm. The cars, the other like big cars like Sally and Mater and all of them are kind of sidelined a little bit. Obviously Doc Hudson didn't return in 2 or 3 because the actor passed away. So inside of the movies, Doc Hudson also passed away, and they used that a little bit in Cars 2, like that was kind of McQueen's arc a little bit, but then they also bring it up in this one where they use it a little bit more as well. And I think the way they handle that is really good. You get some fun racing scenes. And like it all comes to a head at the end where you get McQueen in the race, and then he kind of just takes out, and Cruz steps in for him. And I do think the ending's pretty good. Seeing like Cruz, like this newcomer, come in and just kind of like, it's kind of weird that like in her first race she wins, but it's cool. I'm pretty sure I don't remember like the last time I fully heard the details, so I might be a little bit fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure the original ending was going to be McQueen winning like one last time, or like against Jackson Storm, or it might have been Cruz like joined the race and then McQueen tried beating her or something. Like I don't know exactly, but I think the original ending was McQueen like winning one last time. And I probably would have preferred that a little bit, just because it's like, if this is the last one where like McQueen's racing and everything, I would have liked to see like one more victory, especially since like, even though I love Cars 2, like we don't get as much racing in that one as like we would like. So in Cars 3, it would have been kind of cool just to see McQueen win one last race. That being said, I do think that the movie overall is a really good one, and the arc that McQueen goes on, kind of learning that maybe his time has passed, but he can now become like the mentor role that Doc was, and that kind of comes to a head in the final scene where they're at Radiator Springs. They're at that racetrack that him and Doc raced on in the first movie, and he's in a new paint job, and it's dark blue. It looks like Doc Hudson. I really like that, and I think it's a pretty good ending to this trilogy, and I'm pretty sure there's a Cars 4 that's somewhere in the works. Like I don't know how long, but I think there's one, but if there's not, it's a really good ending to the trilogy, and it's a trilogy that I do like a lot. But Cars 3, I think that it's a really solid ending. It puts the focus back on Lightning McQueen, whereas like in the second one, like I do like the second one, mostly because of Finn McMissile. Like he's a standout in the franchise, but like Cars 3, like I do like Lightning McQueen being the lead. And that kind of just is like probably the best thing about it. But that's kind of what I have to say about the Cars trilogy. I didn't have much to say about the last two. This video is gonna be around 20-ish minutes. The first movie I talked about like 10-ish, and then the other ones was 5 and 5-ish, somewhat around that. But like the first one I think has like while filming this, I kind of convinced myself that the first one probably my favorite. The second one probably has like some of my favorite moments. So I think each one gets worse. But that being said, I think each of them is great. I would say that each of them is around a 3.5 to 4 stars. Some of my favorite Pixar. You'll see where it ranks in my Pixar ranking. I'm going to review Toy Story 5 when that releases. I'm going to do a ranking of the Toy Story movies plus, like, the shorts, because if I'm doing a Pixar ranking, I kind of want to add some stuff into the Toy Story ranking. And then I will do a ranking of all the Pixar movies I've seen, which I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a good chunk, I think. Yeah, Cars is a movie that I think is great, and I don't know why it's like one of the movies that like everyone's like, oh yeah, it's fine, but like whatever, when it's really good. Cars 2 is just fun. Like, I can understand some of the hate, but it's like it's just fun. Like, it's got fun spy action, and like, yeah, it's kind of weird for that being a Cars movie, but I'm not complaining. I couldn't say with a straight face that I hate it. And then Cars 3 is a nice conclusion to these characters for now. And I think that this trilogy is just one of the most underrated Pixar like franchises in like the bunch. But tell me what your thoughts on the movies are. I hope you guys like this type of video. One's going back to some older movies. I've got one that I don't know when it's coming out. Probably closer to June. Probably closer to July or August. That I wanted to just talk about an old show. But I like doing this. I kind of want to do some more. Maybe I'll do an Incredibles one. And then if you guys have any movies that are older that you guys would want me to talk about, whether I've seen it or not, if it fits within like a movie I would watch, like there are some movies out there like I wouldn't watch, but like if it's one that I would or I have, I'll do that and I'll make a video. And obviously there's also the stuff that is actually releasing right now, rankings and reviews and just everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.